So I think that any artist, over time, you prove yourself to either be a product of the moment that you're in or have the ability to capture the spirit of the moments that you move through. And I think what makes a consistently good artist, and in this case, photographer, is the ability to prove that you are not stuck in one moment or one idea, but that you are constantly conceiving and riffing on the moments that you are moving through in time, from the decades, the days, that you are evolving with the zeitgeist, and that your true talent is in interpreting the cultural zeitgeist rather than being a part of the zeitgeist of any given moment. I will forever prefer making work alone. I'm a very solitary person. And I think that for me, knowing that I can not only do the work that I would ask my assistant to do, but I package my own film, I process my own film, I shoot film cameras, I can do simple repairs on those cameras if we are in the middle of nowhere. And those are things that I am extremely proud of, because it means that I can keep going and keep working longer and without distraction, which is my happy place pretty much always. Yeah, it's great to have some good ideas, but if you don't know how to craft your concept yourself, you don't know the full extent those ideas can go. When you know your tools in anything, in this case photography, you know what they're capable of, and that gives you an index of concepts that goes beyond a creative idea into all the technical ways you can pull it off, which you might have some idea of from looking at references or from thinking about it. But if you really know your influence, if you know your tools, then you know all of the multitude of tiny differences in the way you can use them. And that allows you creative control. I used to think that depression played a huge role in being an artist, partially because I had a mentally ill parent who was an artist. And so I saw that as an influence growing up. But what I think now is that creativity is the product of limitation, that when we face limitations, we have to come up with creative ways to work around them. And that's where creativity comes from. And I think that mental illness is a form of constant limitation on someone. You're interacting with the world, but you're interacting with the world in a narrow frame, and doing your best to accommodate a world that's not designed for your viewpoint. And that forces you into a more creative sphere because you're constantly problem solving on a very rational level. When I was young, my work all came from a place of, I would force myself into these depressed or very mentally unstable states because I wanted to have access to what I thought was creativity. There's so much linked to that. There's all Rimbaud poems and all these things from when I was young that I thought dictated I would be creative if I felt these ways. And now I think that I will be creative as long as I recognize limitations and I learn to work within boundaries. And the narrower the boundaries, the more creative you have to be to cross them. And I think that's why often we see mental illness as a precursor for very creative people, is because they have to be creative from the moment they wake up, because they have to figure out a way to exist in a world that isn't built for them. I would either do something else if it was possible for me to do anything else, or I wouldn't. And that the successful artists are the ones that just don't know how to do anything else. That it's totally impossible for them to do anything else. So I was actually trying at the time to do literally anything else. I tried office jobs and I tried all this, and I just was completely incapable. I was depressed, I was miserable. This was the only thing, it turns out, that I know how to do, and maybe someday I'll find something else.